I've always been drawn to Chicago. Like I went to college in the Midwest in Ohio. I spent a lot of time coming up here, you know, on weekends to see shows or, you know, performances that weren't necessarily playing in Chicago that I wanted to see. Like, I'm a big Lupe Fiasco fan, a big Twista fan. So a big Kanye fan, you know, but also like on the soul side, a big, you know, Donny Hathaway is from here. So there's a lot to say about Chicago. I will say, not being from Chicago, I'm from Atlanta. Coming here, I really felt a big embrace from the community. You know, whether it's, you know, I started out with Vic. I met Vic out in LA with Pharrell, and just kind of started touring with him. So Vic, I didn't even make it to Chicago with Vic. It really was Peter that got me, you know, involved in the Chicago community, and with Chance and all of those people, and Joey, like, just so many of my homies, Nico, work in this music industry here in Chicago. I think it's such an important piece to the music industry. There's so much music that's being made here, even like on the film scoring side, you know, for the movie industry. There's just so much happening in Chicago, and I'm really appreciative that the city, you know, embraced me the way that they did and allowed me to work on some crucial projects for my own career. I always give props to Vic, Peter, and Chance, because they helped open some doors for me professionally and creatively. So, and I feel like that's the energy here in Chicago, where people are always looking to help, you know, one another out, especially in the music industry. It's like, if, you know, we all work with one another. And we all, and for the most part, we all work well with one another too, which says a lot about a community, because it's not like that in every city that you go in that has dope musicians. Sometimes the community is, you know, very ego driven, which causes a lot of fights and falling outs and bands splitting up and all of that. But I feel like in Chicago, you know, when we step into that studio, we check our egos at the door and we try to get the best record that we can, and it's evident in the amount of awards and accolades that come back to the city, that, you know, when there's a Chicago session, something dope is gonna happen. I made my whole project here in Chicago, so I owe a lot to the community. I owe a lot to the studio community here too, who constantly let me, you know, lock out full days and just kind of be myself in the studio. So I'm very grateful, man. And I think Chicago has so much potential. There's so many dope kids from Chicago that we haven't heard yet, that we just meet in passing or in studio sessions. And I'm excited for the world to hear what's coming out of this city. And I'm grateful to be a byproduct of it, you know? Yeah, Peter's studio is here. It's RCM Studios. It's a great place. They have great pricing. Peter's studio is a little larger than the studio that I worked at. I tend to try to like duck off when I'm working. And Peter's studio, which is a great thing for him, has multiple rooms. So, you know, he can book more clients. But for me, I worked out of this spot called Palisades. It used to be another name. I'm not familiar with the other name, but if you ask anybody from Chicago, like, they know the other name of the studio. The first time Vic came to visit me at Palisades, he was like, this used to be so-and-so. So it was kind of a studio that was passed down from an old studio to and they rebranded as a new one. And I worked out of there all during the quarantine. The other part about that studio was that I was able to, like, you know, meet all the guidelines and regulations for quarantining by, you know, not doing it in a larger studio. So that's why I chose that one. And shout out to the team over at Palisades too, man. They have great prices too. That's another thing about Chicago, man. Like, getting the recording done, there's not a lot of hurdles. You know, it's a community that's willing to work with you. And even if you're a new artist or an established artist, I love that these studios really look out for the creators here in Chicago. I mean, something for me that really affected my life in a very positive way was Chance had a show in Dayton with Dave Chappelle right after the shooting in Ohio. And I met a few people that weekend, and you're right. You know, they're looking at me as a peer. You know, they respect the work that I do. But I got to meet Ye in the lobby of my hotel, and he's a hero of mine. You know, on the music side, I respect him as a businessman. So it was really, really cool to meet him, and to meet him at the time, because it was Sunday service. And he was seriously one of the nicest people that I met, you know, in passing. Because a lot of times when you meet celebrities in passing, they're moving, so they aren't able to really, really check in with you. But it was nice. He took the time to talk with me, and though it was brief, he took the time to talk with me and speak to me and make me feel welcome, you know, in his presence. We got to meet Dave, and that was incredible. You know, we got to meet Dave Chappelle. I mean, Dave Chappelle is a standard bearer for our community. He really set a different standard for Black and brown people, as far as the comedy goes, as far as the business side goes, as far as the activism goes. So yeah, those are two people. Oh, and I got to see Stevie Wonder live, which I've never, like, my whole life I've had friends that sang background for him, you know, homies that played in the band, and never got to go to a show. My parents never could afford to, you know, get me a ticket to a Stevie show. And I got to see him live, and man, the whole time I just cried, bro. Like, I didn't even know what he performed. I just cried the entire time. I don't think I sang along once. I just sat there and cried. That is like my hero, my idol. Everything I want to be in life is Stevie Wonder. So that was really cool. Got to see him backstage. Got to, you know, talk to him briefly and tell him thank you for his contribution. That meant everything to me, man. That was a huge, huge moment for me.